Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That 80s Child, The Generation Y. And my name is Gabrielle. So I apologize for the sporadicness of my podcast episodes because I've had to move my computer downstairs. So we live in an apartment, like it's a duplex, old Victorian duplex apartment. The full house was separated in half and then separated in half again. So there are 4 apartments altogether in this duplex. We have the second and third floor. And anybody who has a second and third floor knows that it gets awfully hot during the summertime. Regardless of if you have central air or not, we don't have central air. It's just straight up window units. And we've been here for 3 years now. The first 2 we were just fighting against the heat with the third floor because my son's PC isn't. He has a lovely computer room, and I have my really awesome alcove that I always do my recordings and all my schoolwork and everything else. It didn't matter. We could have had 50 air conditioners running, and just the fact that we're right up against the roof, it doesn't matter. So I had to move. I made a decision that I was going to just cut off we have a door that goes to upstairs. So it's just a door to the stairs and then up there. So I made the decision to just shut it off for the summertime. One, it'll save us on the cooling cost. We don't have to suffer having to sit up there doing what we want to do. Like my son, obviously, his generation, you need computers for one thing or other, and I definitely need it now for work and for school and doing this. So I can't sit up there, and I do not do well in the heat. So, granted, it's not even officially summertime yet. We're still in the beginning of June, but we've had some 90-degree days, and even when it's 80, if it's muggy and sunny out, the third floor is disgusting. So I just was like, okay, you have a bedroom, I have a bedroom. We have enough room to put our computers in. Let's just do it. So I moved everything down. We did everything, set everything up, and it's actually been pretty good. We're doing really, really well. And even with our monitoring the electricity, we've actually made big strides on using less. So it's a plus, less money that I have to pay out. So besides that, I finished up my quarter for school. So my writing is, it was a very writing intense quarter. So I've been kind of busy with that, and I got a new position at work. So I'm now doing marketing. So I'm trying to get myself situated and ready for doing that. So it's been kind of crazy. But here I am, first time recording in my bedroom, which is odd. So it's a little more echoey here because I don't have the where I am in the normal room. It has where I am upstairs. I have the roof, like it has a slanted ceiling, so it's like right up. I'm literally right next to the roof, so it's less echoey. So my apologies. I don't have those foam things to dampen the sound because this isn't going to be my constant. Anyhow. So it sounds a little different, so I apologize. And I do still have a fan because, I need moving air. So in this episode, finally, I've just been recording for 5 minutes and haven't even discussed anything about nostalgic. So, anyhow, putting aside my update, this episode is going to be about Saturday morning commercials. Not the cartoons, the commercials. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to put a shout out to the Nostalgia Critic. His YouTube channel, because he has a very, very awesome compilation of all things commercials and nostalgic commercials. So it's within my wheelhouse of nostalgia, same age bracket, same generation. So I used my research into it using a lot of his noting of the different commercials that I might have forgotten. And ones that I'll never forget, but it was awesome watching them again. So please check that out. It's called Nostalgia Critic. And he does all these old movies that he does, critiques them. He's hilarious. Definitely check him out. And you can thank my son because he's the one that shows me all these things. So anyhow, I have a list of commercials. I could have gone on for pages. I have almost 2 pages written, so I might gloss over a few and just keep going, or and go into ones that I can actually that I remember, and I remember well, not just going through and watching them again through YouTube or whatever. So the first one I found was the Frosted Mini Wheats. Now I don't know if you guys remember, they had the commercial that you had one side which was the shredded wheat, and the other side that had the sugar on it. So when they would show you, you'd have a ballerina who was an adult. They were there for the shredded wheat, and then it brings out the kid in you, and you see this little girl in a ballerina outfit, and they had different variations of it. So I remember that one. It's an odd one. It's not necessarily funny, but I just remember it because of the, just like one side is your adult side and the other side brings out the kid in you. And I do love Frosted Mini Wheats. I still do. So the Hamburger Helper animated hands. I will freely admit that, especially in this day and age, we really don't take into consideration commercials as much anymore. I know we still watch the Super Bowl for specialized, ridiculously expensive slots for commercials, but we don't really watch them because we're either on a streaming service, we pay that we don't have them anymore, and if we do, it's limited. Most people don't want to be bothered with the commercials. I'm one of them. I never, you would use it to go for the bathroom break, or run into the kitchen to get something, or you take a break to discuss whatever happened in the show. But for the most part, it did kind of cut up the actual show to the point where it breaks you away from that, like, living within the show. Like, you're part of it and you're watching it. It just cuts it. It just breaks you away from that stream of thought, or watching, and that attention. So a lot of us, and a lot of the newer generation, don't really classify commercials as something memorable or nostalgic, because it wasn't an integral or something that we had to sit through regardless. I can see how this might be definitely a generational niche thing that isn't going to be something like, say, like my son would, 10, 20 years down the line be like, oh, do you remember that really awesome commercial? I mean, unless it had something to do with the Super Bowl, and that's even if you're into that sort of stuff, they're not anything anybody really cares about anymore. And that's fine because, but it's advertising, so they have to do it somewhere. I have a couple of these just because I noted the people that were in the commercials. They weren't necessarily notable for the commercial itself, but there was a lot of, like, Nutri-Grain, peanut butter that had the dude from Perfect Strangers in it. I knew him more for the commercials than actually Perfect Strangers. And then they had the cutscenes. So if you watch the Saturday morning cartoons and you have, like, ABC, and they had After These Messages, it was a claymation, and they would sing, after these messages, we'll be right back. You can watch that you can look it up, ABC, claymation, like, points where they were just like, we're cut into a commercial. You had the one with the singers, you had a one with the dog, and it was pretty cool. Like, I love all things claymation. I love the Claymation Christmas by Will Vinton. They're awesome. And then you had the cereal Apple Jacks. So they'd have this whole thing where you're, like, in a high school cafeteria, and then these people are like, I love these Apple Jacks, they're awesome. And they're like, why do you like it so much? It doesn't taste like apples. And then it's just like, or why is it so good? And it's like, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's like, it just does. And it's just like, and everybody's like, whoa. I actually never ate Apple Jacks as a kid. I'm not really big on cereal because I really don't like milk. So cereals are not my forte. But my son just, like, randomly was like, I want to try these, and I'm like, okay. And I've eaten them, and they're actually not so bad. I would eat them just without the milk. Most, like, corn pops I'll eat without milk. There are certain things I'm just like, I'm good. Yeah, milk grosses me out. or I just like put enough on there so it's just like, look, you could have milk in it, put a dab in there. It's like, all right, that's good enough. Crossfire, the marble game. the so you're just it's a fighting marble game, marbles of all things, and it's like crazy that it has like a lasting theme song. It's like Crossfire, and you were like in like the Thunderdome, like you came back in and the kid that wins. It's crazy. I've also noticed that a lot of the old commercials had a they were like mini movies or just like mini series because you would go back and there would be chapters. So like one you see the first one, they're like, and then next time will this happen, and then you see the next episode. It's like, yeah, it's episodic commercials. It's crazy because people did have to watch them at the time. You couldn't fast forward, or we didn't have DVR. So why not make it a little bit more interesting to the point where you're like, what's going to happen next? Did we necessarily care about what they were advertising? Not necessarily, no, but I was interested to see what would happen next, kind of like Days of Our Lives, stuff like that. Insecticons. I could not remember. I remember having Transformers, obviously, and there was one that I had that was a praying mantis. And I couldn't remember what it was actually called, and they're called Insecticons. And I have to say, the actual commercial wasn't necessarily like memorable, but it was just more of like, oh my god, that's what it was called. It is one of the most difficult builds going from the Transformer to the insect that you would ever come across. And I prided myself when I had that praying mantis and I was able to put it from Transformer to an Insecticon and back and forth. Would I be able to do it now? Probably not, but it was literally like a freaking Rubik's Cube trying to get that goddamn thing to actually go back to being an insect, and then vice versa. Chia Pet, the pottery that grows, and then Chia. I never had a Chia Pet until I got to work. I forget what year it was. I wouldn't say 2013, 2014. We had a zombie Chia Pet. It took me forever to bring it home and do it. And the thing is that from what you see on the television and how full it is, granted, it does grow and it grows well. They're chia seeds, and that's what most people are eating them in their grain bowls now, or drinking it. I'm not a fan, but it's there. You have to make sure that when you are putting it on, you're putting it on fairly thick and where you want it to go. Because I had points where, so you had a zombie head and you'll have like this chia seed that's growing out. Like you had a zit coming out of the one side of his face. Gotta just be sure where they're going, because otherwise they're just everywhere. But they do sprout. It works. But I mean, I don't know what the point is for it other than to look interesting. They just die off and then you have to get some more of the seeds. But okay, whatever floats your boat. Micro Machines. You had the fastest talker, because he also did Federal Express when it was Federal Express, or FedEx. He would tell you everything to do with the Micro Machines. I couldn't tell you exactly what he was saying, but I thought it was pretty awesome to, you hear those people at the end of like radio commercials on like the small print for when you're buying a car or something like that, when they have a special offer, and they usually speed it up. It's not done by somebody who's speaking quickly. It's usually sped up a bit. This guy didn't need that. He just had that talent as like the fastest talker. I'm pretty sure he probably was in the back then. A lot of things have changed now, but the Guinness Book of World Records to be the fastest talker. Not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure he's probably in there. And Micro Machines were awesome too. My brother had them. I thought they were pretty cool. And like I said, I wasn't really that into like dolls and whatever. I liked playing with Hot Wheels, and then obviously Micro Machines were right in that same wheelhouse. I never did this, but this was included in the Nostalgia Critic. I did see the commercials, but I never did it, where they were the 900 numbers, not for different types of 900 numbers, where you would get to talk to Santa, He-Man, or the Easter Bunny. And, like the first minute's like $2.99, and like 50 cents for every minute thereafter, and you had to get your parents' permission. And it would just have some ridiculous, like, pre-recorded things. So it's not like a sex hotline. It's the same concept. You're still paying ridiculous amounts. I saw them, but I never, like, was like, oh my God, I need to call this. And my dad would have never allowed it anyway. So Cocoa Pebbles with the Flintstones. If you like the Flintstones, like, they also had the Christmas special ones. I forget what I had that was on a VHS tape that we had recorded off the TV right in between, because my mom would actually cut out the commercials. But a couple of them, you'd see a few of them, and that, like, the Flintstones Christmas Cocoa Pebble, like, it was crazy that you'd have even holiday special commercials. The Tootsie Pop. It is older than the 80s and 90s, but it's a classic. And it's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? I think that will be forever and always a classic. I don't know if kids know now, again, because it's not something that we sit and watch anymore. Most things are streaming, and we pay for not having commercials. So I'm not entirely sure that's going to jump over to the next generation. My son knows it because of the Nostalgia Critic watching it and things that we've watched from when I was little, and we had those commercials in there. But yeah, I think that's going to probably die out eventually. But that is a classic. That's like a lot older than I am. I remember it, and I've seen it even recently, so they still play it. Grape Escape. So a board game that you have, like, Play-Doh, and then you make into, like, grapes, and you have to, like, get across the board, and if you don't, your grape gets smushed, cut in half, stuff like that. What was hilarious is that you watch these commercials and you're wondering, like, why was this interesting? Or why was this, like, oh my God, I must have? And it has a lot to do with, like, you had the baby dolls. They were really pushing that stuff in the late 80s and through the 90s, where just, like, the baby actually cries, the baby actually like, pees themselves, and you had these twins as well. Again, I wasn't very much into baby dolls. One, they scared the crap out of me because dolls are creepy, and second of all, just wasn't my thing. So I would see these commercials, and I would actually be like, this is ridiculous. Why the heck would you want to be taking care of a baby? And it's just like teaching like little girls, this is your role. And I'm not trying to be like a feminist in any way in this regard, but yeah, it's just like, just expect yourself to be like this, and this is what you're going to get yourself into. Or, and most of them are like, I want one, and it's like, why do you want one? It's just more work. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I didn't have them, and I didn't want them because I don't want that stuff. Guess Who? I love that game. I actually want to get that and play it because I absolutely loved it when we had it. But we had in the actual commercial, you see the cards, like, saying, like, oh, it's not me, or blah blah blah. It's you. Like, I have a beard, or she has a hat. And in the actual commercial, they have a small print. Cards don't actually talk. It's like, well, why not? And in this day and age, we should probably have those digitalized Guess Who games, and they do talk. All right, where's that? So Corn Pops, another cereal commercial, and I do like Corn Pops, actually. It was always about these crazy teenagers who were going down to have some breakfast, and they're like, where's my Corn Pops? Like, oh, I had the last bowl. Like, if maybe it's their younger brother or sister, or maybe it's their mom and dad or something like that. And they're like, I'm sorry. And the teenager's just like, that's fine. And then all of a sudden, like, you have that inner monologue of, like, they're literally having a rage attack of being so angry that they cannot have their Corn Pops, and that these a-holes ate their last bowl. And it was kind of scary because you had these kids who were just like, are they going to murder people? Like, what's happening? But they were a little crazy over their Corn Pops. But yeah, Nerf for Nothing. And it's like very warlike. They're like having or sniper stuff, almost like having the laser tags that they do now. my son loves Nerf, and even when he was little, he would be like, "It's Nerf or nothing." Commercials, as crazy as they are, and if you grow up enough with them, you know their taglines. And my goodness, when they have a good tagline, you'll know it for the rest of your life. Well, our lives anyway, because like I said, commercials aren't a huge thing now, but we will always know Nerf or nothing. I forgot about this one, but like I said, the Nostalgia Critic reminded me. You had the Lego Maniac, which is Zach, and then they had one that was called Jake. So you had this kid who was just like a Lego maniac, and they would advertise whatever Lego build it was, and they would, he would have his leather jacket on and show you how cool he was that he built it. And believe me, I love Lego. I love it to see it. I don't really build them. My son loves them. My mom loved them when she was able to build them. My son like adores them, and they have those ones now that are for adults, so it's not even for just kids anymore. And they're expensive. My goodness, Lego is pretty much their gold bricks, for real, gold bricks. Squeeze it. The squeeze is on. That stuff is so. I was not big on like anything fruit punch like or Hawaiian punch. Those squeeze it bottles, no thanks. Where you just twist the top and it just squeeze it down. My son for a little bit actually would get them at Wawa. No, they're gross to me. I'm sorry. Is it the sugary drink? Well, I drink Coke, so that's really ridiculously sugary. So I can't say it's because it's the sugar. The taste, I guess. I don't know. They had these like animated squeeze it bottles, and it's just like you're just ripping their heads off, and like it's. These commercials are kind of, when you look at them now and you're like, oh my God, that's pretty morbid. But we loved them at the time. Chef Boyardee dinosaurs. I don't like Chef Boyardee. I think it's disgusting. Whoever likes the sauce in any of that is you've got problems with your taste buds, because it's gross. It's the nastiest stuff that I've ever tasted in my entire life, and that's even going above Mucinex, and Mucinex is pretty damn gross. So, and this is the Chef Boyardee dinosaurs, and it's like honkin' tonkin' dinosaurs, and you have like a safari looking thing, and you just see in the distance the can with the dinosaurs all over it, and the disgusting taste that's within it. Okay, so they had like I said, special Christmas commercials, and they had a McDonald's one with Ronald McDonald before they got rid of him, where this little girl comes up and he's like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "I'm running away." And it's I don't know if anybody's seen it. I don't know if they still play it. Probably not, because Ronald McDonald is no longer their mascot for it. It was pretty heartwarming. Not that I would be going up to some random clown building a snowman on the side of the road, but okay. That he kind of explains, how we're needed, and it's that time of year, and blah blah blah, and it gets you. But yeah, again, I would not be talking to a clown at night in the snow building a snowman. No, I don't care I don't care. No. Toys R Us. I still sing that song randomly. It gets in my head, and it's just like, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I've sang enough. You don't need to hear me sing anymore, okay? And they even had like a reunion one later on, so you saw the same kids, what they look like now, and the same kind of, one on the train, one in all of the stuffed animals. It was pretty neat. Another thing that's gone, Toys R Us is no longer. Now, granted, right now we're in a really huge inflation with everything, and we're not, everything's ridiculously expensive. But I always found Toys R Us when when my son was growing up to be very expensive. He would go there special on his birthday, and he was able to pick out one or two things. But for the most part, I went elsewhere. So I understand, I'm not saying I was personally responsible for the fact that they didn't have enough money to keep open, but they were not competitive when it came to their pricing, and they very rarely had any sales that were of any consequence. So, but I do miss it. When I was little, they had the little tickets. So they have like this wall of like the bigger items and even like the games, so the more expensive things. And you would see all the games that were out, and it was like the Game Boy games, and you had the Game Gear games and the PlayStation games, and you just grab a ticket, you pay for it, and then you go to this small little window and they come out and give it to you. And it was pretty crazy when you would go in there and I would be like, I want that, I want that, I want that, have all the tickets. But, you know, especially a trampoline. I've always wanted a trampoline, and they always had a huge trampoline. We had freaking 10 acres, okay? Most of it was wooded, all right? Maybe 6+ acres was wooded. We had enough room for a freaking trampoline. Did I ever get one? No. Did I ask one for every Christmas? Yes, I did. Again, I'm not saying I didn't get enough. I did, and I was very appreciative of everything that I got. But why couldn't I have a trampoline? Like, why? Right, but anyway, I digress. They had, okay, so when we were younger, especially like kids, like early 90s, or when I was younger, I don't know how old you are that is listening, but when I was younger, like I'd say 11, 12, so we're talking 91, 92. Nah, we're talking more like 94, 95. Yeah, I don't even know how old I am. When I was born, apparently. So they had these commercials for sexual harassment, and the tagline was, "And I don't have to take it." It was a big thing because women were still kind of, it's still a thing, and it's not just about women either. It's on both sides. It can happen to anybody. But it was a big, big thing in the 80s and the 90s with the sexual harassment, especially towards women, because during the 50s especially, and even during the 60s, women you were a secretary, you were treated more as like the wife at the office, like, go get me a coffee, go fetch me this, go fetch me that, and rude things would be said, you would be, sexualized because you're a woman instead of like the work that you're doing. So it was a big thing and a big push during the late 80s, early 90s for the sexual harassment and the revolution of women having an equal footing within the workplace. And that you can come out and say something, that this needs to be addressed. So I get why they had it, but it was just the bluntness of the face of the women who were in these commercials and looking right at them, and it's just like, and I don't have to take it. No, you don't. But I need to laugh at this. But I get that. It was a big thing then. So again, I'm not making fun of what it stands for, but just how they came about it. And it is old, so it just looks funny. Okay, so milk. It does the body good. I hate milk, so my body's falling apart. So in the actual commercials, they would have these little, a little kid who's like, I can't wait to grow up so that I can get big and strong. So you have these little scrawny kid, drinks some milk, and then you flip it around, and he's like big and strong, he's like a jock. Then you have these girls like, I can't wait to get, grow up and I can be beautiful or whatever. So they would drink milk, and then they'd see them in a swimsuit or this scantily clad dress. Again, at the time, you look at it, in order for you to be happy, you have to be like this svelte looking, overly buff person, or, again, women being sexualized in that way. Does it age well? Not really. But it's just trying to show you, like, you drink your milk and you'll actually be doing your bones a goodness. You don't have to look like that to be happy. And that's, nowadays, like, if you were to dissect these commercials in the now and the woke generation and all this stuff and the political correctness, it would be done in such a different way, or just not at all. And then you had the Denny's commercial, and I remember Denny's. So in the Santa Claus, it is hilarious because it's so true. And the Santa Claus, when they go to Denny's to have, eggnog and a Christmas dinner, they're out of everything. my dad insisted before we would spend the day down the shore. We would get up early, and for a while he insisted on going to Denny's because it was literally right on along the way. It changed. We went to the diner instead. Diners are so much better, especially in Jersey. And they always would get the order wrong, or they'd be out of something. It's hilarious, but it's the truth. They just sucked. And the food was never that good. I hated it. I hated it when we went there because I'm not a huge breakfast eater. I do like scrambled eggs. I like bacon. I like, breakfast sausage. I don't like other ones, but I don't like pancakes that are made out. They just don't taste right. Even like the scrambled eggs, either they're too runny or they're too, I'll just do it myself. So usually when we go to the diner, I'll get a side of pork roll, and it's pork roll, damn it, and a bagel and cream cheese. Again, I'm not a big breakfast person. I'll eat breakfast at home. I'll make it myself. So when I'm out, pork roll, bagel and cream cheese. There you go. Can't go wrong with that. But anyway, so this Denny's commercial, they were advertising the red, white, and blue pancakes. And the guy sits down and is like, wow, it tastes like, and he's trying to find the word, and the guy next to him's like, America. And they just nod to each other, and it's like, tastes like America. It's freaking hilarious. That's all. Like, who came up with this? What does America taste like? Denny's red, white, and blue pancakes? Well, then that's some, like, bland-ass pancakes. So America is very bland. Sorry. Anyhow, skip it. Skip it. Skip it. I'm not singing anymore, I swear to God. But anyhow, so you have that song that's in your head, and it doesn't matter if you had one or not, but you know the damn song. My mom and dad got my niece one for her birthday. I think it was her birthday. And she would play... Was it her birthday? I'm not entirely sure. She got it. My mom and dad got it for her. And she played it out in our driveway. And she played it, like it's jump rope, but with a counter, and the chance of you tripping and hurting yourself with this thing attached to your leg. And I kind of wanted one, but again, she got one, but I didn't get one. Was I jealous? Maybe. But either way, it was an interesting thing. I don't know if they still have that out, because I feel like a lot of stuff is having a comeback, like revitalized retro stuff. I'm not sure Skip It made the cut, but when it was there, the crash test dummies first started out as a PSA for seatbelts, but then for whatever reason, I guess because of the height and because of the popularity of those commercials, they became a toy that you could literally crash and they would just fall apart. I think I had a set, and they did actually have a cartoon of it as well. They were really capitalizing on that, and it came from a commercial, a PSA commercial, for crying out loud. Like, it's crazy. Like I said, the impact of commercials from when we were younger to the non-existence of them now. Now I get, like I said, majority of the people just want to get into the show, and that's why, like, binge watching. Most of these shows they come and go like within a blip because you're watching them so fast. Before we had to wait, and you had to wait longer when you had to sit through some commercials. It's crazy that even a commercial spun off toys and a show of their own. And the one crash test dummy, I believe, had the same Lorenzo Music, same voice as Garfield, and if you watch the Ghostbusters cartoon, he was Peter Venkman. Fun fact. Anyhow, this is not so much a commercial, but it was like a beginning, the original HBO beginning. So now you just have the screen that goes from snow, and it goes, oh, and it goes HBO. Before, they had a whole town that you'd be flying through, and you'd have like the music like da na 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 na, and it's just like, it was its own theatrical beginning, and it was exciting because you were watching HBO. It was paid cable television, and it just, like, they had this whole town, and then you'd have like HBO coming in like, Star Wars format, and it's like, you know, they need to bring that back for real. Creepy crawlers. I believe my brother had them, and you had them like creepy crawlers. Look these commercials up. If you have forgotten them, please do, because I know I'm not doing them any justice by my singing, because I can't sing. So you're all welcome for listening to that, and I hope that they have brought back some memories or nightmares. So Creepy Crawlers was pretty cool. They actually advertised it more, so it's boys trying to scare their parents or their sisters. I think they even made ones that were edible eventually, but these were not supposed to be edible. Again, I think my brother had them. The Campbell Soup Snowman Kid, that's an old one. That's like mid 80s, if not older. I don't even know. But yeah, this snowman coming in and then sitting down at the table, and they put a Campbell's tomato soup in front of him, and he melts, and it's a kid. Now, why they let the kid go out there for so long, I have no idea, but here we are. Laser tag. So they had a couple of different laser tags. I don't know. I didn't write down the actual company, but the commercial, there was literally lines in the beginning. It was a mini movie, and Beyond Thunderdome-esque, and at the end the guy wins, and you're like rooting for him. Like, again, these commercials are mini movies just playing out in front of you. They had, so there was one I didn't actually have written down, but I did watch. It was the Golden Crisp cereal with Sugar Bear. So it's post Golden Crisp cereal, and that's the one that was episodic, where you would see his goings on and like what would happen, these guys attacking him. It was a cartoon, and they would have these guys attacking him, and then you were like, what will happen to Sugar Bear? Check in next time. Like, and it would continue. Sometimes you get them a little out of like sync. I don't know how they scheduled them, but yeah, it's episodic. You would actually look forward to the story sometimes, not all the time. And then last but not least, and like I said, if I would go through every single one that I can remember, I would be on here for, I'm already doing this for 45 minutes, which is going to get cut down a little bit after I go through editing, but I would be on here for hours. Mentos was the last one I have written down. Their tagline was fresh and full of life. So if something happened, like I think there was the one where the guy was trying to get across the street, and there was a huge backup of cars, so he couldn't get through. So he pulls out the Mentos, pops one in, and he like goes through this limousine, and these people are like in the limousine, and he's like, hey, like, this is fine. And then he gets out of it, and he's on the other side, and he meets the person, and then he turns around while those people are looking at him like he's freaking crazy, and he goes, with, well, you can't see me, and he like thumbs up them with like a smile on his face with the Mentos. Like, that makes it all better. Don't worry about it. I had a Mentos. I don't think I've ever had a Mentos, to be honest with you. Maybe if I had one, it would make everything all better. So there's my commercials of the 80s and 90s. I could probably do a second episode of this. Will probably be in season 3, because like I said, this season 2 has been a bit of a wreck. I was really trying to keep on top of everything. Recording has been a little difficult. Like I said, logistics with the computers, and very busy with school, a lot of writing. My promotion at work has kind of like got me, I was super stressed. I wanted to have this season 2. I really wanted to have season 2 to go off without a hitch. Not without a hitch, but I wanted to have a little bit more consistent. So like one a week, but lots of things going on. So yeah, I applied for this position, for a marketing position. My degree's in public relations and communications, not necessarily marketing, but public relations is like under that umbrella, or marketing is under public relations umbrella. And I wanted to have something that was a little bit more in tune with what I'm going to school for, which makes sense. And they had an opening available, and I had applied for it, which I was like stressing over for until they responded to me. They accepted me, so I'm doing training, but it's still stressful because I just want to make sure like that I, in essence, good enough, I guess. Everybody's like, you got this, and I just have to believe that in myself. So I'm working on it. So I'm also working on these podcasts. So I don't know what episode this is. I'm going to be honest, I can't remember. I'm just going to go to my website and it will tell me. All right, so this is episode 9. And I had wanted to do 12, which it actually was going to turn into 13 because I was doing the special one with my son. But depending on how busy I get, I might just keep it at 12 and then start up again. Like once I get the 12 done, start up again in the fall. I think that'll be the best bet. So 3 more after this, because I know math. Did I have to use my fingers? Of course not. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I have the rest of them planned out. It's just research and recording and making sure that the recording is done well. Yes, you can hear the fan in the background, but that's just something you're going to have to deal with. Yes, you can hear my dogs itching themselves. It's just something I'm going to get stopped because I'm downstairs now. My mom constantly asks me questions, and then obviously my son going back and forth. So it's just a matter of getting it done, and then I'm going to edit it, which will be tomorrow, and then it'll be out after I'm done editing. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you have enjoyed, and if you haven't already, please check out my other episodes. They're on Spotify. They're also on any other podcast service that you might use, like Google or iTunes. They're all uploaded to the same thing. But you can also find everything on my website, GabrielleCataldi.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I have all of those linked on my website. And please spread the word, because it would just be nice to get some input about it. So if you have, I have blogs up. I also have on my Facebook and Instagram. If you have any response or anything that you would like me to add or talk about, please, I'm always open for any suggestions or anything that I should tweak for future. I appreciate all of that, and I appreciate you for listening, and thank you so much. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of That 80s Child, The Generation Y, and please listen to all the rest. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and until next time, bye.